All right, so we're diving deep today, folks.
Oh,
Really deep.
yet.
Into the Diddy allegations. Sean P. Diddy Combs, as we all know him.
Yeah, big name in the music industry. And these are, well,
Big allegations, racketeering, sex trafficking, you name it. It's heavy stuff.
yeah, it is.
But what I find so interesting is all the people that were kind of warning us about Diddy's behavior
Yeah.
way before any of this came to light. We're talking years ago.
Years and years.
Cryptic comments, accusations, even like long-standing feuds that a lot of folks just kind of blew off at the
Yeah,
time.
and just like dismissed as drama or whatever.
Exactly. So ready to unpack all this.
Absolutely. We've got a ton to go through. Court docs, interviews, even some interesting song lyrics. It's like a real-life detective story, piecing it all together.
It really is. I mean, you almost have to start with Wendy Williams, right? Back in 2015, she had this kind of bizarre exchange with Cassie Ventura.
Yeah, Diddy's girlfriend at the time.
Yep. His girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
Right on her show. And I mean, it just felt like she was trying to warn her about something.
She really wasn't holding back.
Mm.
Calling Diddy a mogul and basically like saying it's almost impossible to break free from someone like that.
That's a lot to say on daytime TV.
Right. And this was remembered, like you said, years before Ventura actually filed that lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of abuse.
It's like she saw it coming, And then that footage from 2016 comes out, seemingly showing Diddy getting physical with Ventura.
Oof, that was rough to watch.
Yeah, it adds a whole other layer to Williams' warning, that's for sure.
It makes you wonder if she knew more than she was letting on, or like had seen that kind of behavior before,
Maybe. Then you've got Jaguar Wright. She's a singer, and she's been talking about Diddy's his alleged wrongdoings for years now.
Her claims are they're pretty out there.
There are a lot to process. Like, she even suggests that Diddy was involved in like the dark underbelly of the music industry.
Yeah, she even implied that his mother's death might not have been what it seemed, like potentially linked to a doctor with a history of malpractice. It's dark.
It's really dark. And did she say something about like Diddy selling his soul or something?
Yeah, she said something about him buying into a dark side of the industry. It's all very cryptic, but it definitely got people's attention.
And it wasn't just her, right? We've got Eminem dropping lines about Diddy in his music too.
Oh yeah. Eminem's never one to shy away from controversy. He's pretty good with the wordplay, like hiding accusations and metaphors and stuff.
Give me an example.
Well, in 2018, he released Kill Shot, where he actually implies that Diddy was involved in Tupac's death. He later said it was just a joke, but still.
Still pretty wild. And then there was something in a more recent track, right?
Yeah, Fuel just came out this year. He seems to be hinting at Diddy and potential sexual misconduct. Again, it's very cryptic.
Cryptic but timely, huh?
Yeah, given everything that's come to light.
And we'd be remiss not to talk about 50 Cent. He and Diddy have had a very public feud for years. He's made his distrust pretty clear, let's just say.
Oh, yeah, their beef goes way back, like all the way back to 2006 when 50 released that diss track, The Bomb. He flat out accuses Diddy of knowing who killed Biggie.
Whoa. For those that don't know, Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. the Notorious B.I.G., was a close friend of Diddy's who was murdered in 1997. The case is still unsolved, but there have been a lot of theories about who is responsible.
Yeah, it's a whole other rabbit hole.
And 50 Cent just throws Diddy right into the mix.
Doesn't he? And more recently, 50 was talking about how uncomfortable he always felt at Diddy's parties. He described like how Diddy would hug you from the front and the back at the same time. Weird, right? He said he just stopped going to those parties altogether.
Which, given what we're talking about now, is...
Yeah, it's a little creepy, isn't it?
It is. And let's not forget the title of 50's Netflix docuseries, Did He Do It?
Oh, yeah, can't forget that one. Very pointed.
Very pointed. All right. So we've got Wendy Williams, Jaguar Wright, Eminem, 50 Cent, all these folks kind of dropping hints, But then there's Cat Williams, the comedian. He went on the Club Shay Shay podcast earlier this year and basically, straight up, gave some pretty intense advice about Diddy's parties.
I remember that. He was basically like, avoid them at all costs, right?
Yeah. And didn't he say something really cryptic about protecting a specific part of his body? Like, nobody knew what he was talking about.
He did. And the fact that he said all this just months before Diddy was arrested, it just adds to the creep factor,
Totally. It's like all these warning signs were flashing and nobody was really paying attention.
It's wild, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
How much did we miss? Like you said, warning signs flashing, But it wasn't just like a vibe, right? These weren't just vague feelings.
No, there are some pretty direct claims out there about Diddy, accusations of abuse and misconduct, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like Aubrey O'Day from Diddy's show Making the Band, she's been vocal about her
What
experiences.
did she say?
She said she was scared to death of him, described the whole environment as toxic. Lots of racism and sexism on set.
Man, that's really disturbing. And Kimora Lee Simmons, she also had some serious allegations.
Yeah. She claimed that Diddy threatened to hit her while she was pregnant.
Wow. These are not small accusations.
No, not at all. And then there's Usher. He lived with Diddy as a teenager.
Usher, really?
Yeah. He's talked about seeing some pretty curious things during that time,
Mm.
stuff he wouldn't want his own kids to be exposed to, you know. It's all pretty cryptic.
Cryptic, but considering everything else we're uncovering, I mean, it definitely raises some red flags.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it starts to feel like a pattern, right? Like you have multiple people over many years expressing fear, concern, even directly accusing Diddy of abusive behavior.
It's hard to ignore at a certain point.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember, these are allegations, right? Diddy's entitled to due process. But the sheer volume and consistency of these claims, it's impossible to just sweep under the rug.
It's like, how much did we miss? You know, like, were we all blinded by the Diddy persona, that larger-than-life, music mogul?
I think so, yeah. We get caught up in the celebrity, the success,
Right.
and we don't want to see the bad stuff. And that's part of what makes this whole story so fascinating, right? It challenges us to look beyond the surface.
Absolutely. And speaking of looking beyond the surface, there's more to the story than just personal accusations. There are financial allegations against Diddy as well.
Yeah.
Artists claiming he cheated them out of money.
Oh, yeah. A lot of that going around.
Yeah.
Mace, for example, he's been pretty vocal about Diddy, taking advantage of him early in his career, signing to a bad publishing deal, withholding royalties, that kind of thing.
And he's not alone, is he?
Not at all. Dawn Richard, another former bandmate, she's filed a lawsuit alleging that Diddy owes her millions in unpaid earnings.
So this isn't just about personal relationships. It's a pattern of potential exploitation, like, across the board.
It seems that way, yeah. It adds a whole other dimension to the Diddy story, that's for sure.
A much darker dimension, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that brings us back to Cassie Ventura and the lawsuit she filed against Diddy in 2024. This one's crucial because it directly alleges years of abuse, sexual assault, and even sex trafficking.
And Diddy denied these claims, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that it led to an out-of-court settlement, I mean, that speaks volumes.
It does. And we can't forget that footage from 2016 seemingly showing Diddy physically harming Ventura. I mean, that was pretty damning.
It was, and for a lot of people, I think that footage, along with Ventura's lawsuit, it was a turning point. It was like, all of a sudden, all those cryptic comments, all the whispers about Diddy, they started to make sense.
The pieces of the puzzle started falling into place.
Exactly. And it's a testament to Ventura's bravery, you know, to come forward against someone as powerful as Diddy, especially in an industry like music where power dynamics are so intense.
It takes guts to stand up to someone like that. You know, it makes you wonder if there are others out there who have similar stories but are afraid to come forward. I mean, can you imagine going up against someone like Diddy?
It's terrifying. You know, there's that fear of retaliation damaging your career and also just the very real possibility of not being believed.
Right. Like, who's going to believe you over Diddy, right?
Exactly. And it makes you think about all those warnings and cryptic comments we were talking about. Like, were they just that? Or were people trying to warn us in the only way they felt safe?
That's a great question. And some of those warnings, some of them were more direct than others. Like, think about Tupac back in 1995.
No, yeah. Tupac and Vibe magazine.
Right. He was asked directly if he thought Diddy was connected to the shooting he was involved in the year before.
And he didn't hesitate, did he?
Nope. He said, I believe so.
Mm.
And he said it was between me and him, and only he knows.
And less than a year later, Tupac was killed in another shooting.
It's tragic. And while there's no concrete evidence linking Diddy to either shooting, Tupac's words, they're hard to ignore. They add to that whole sense of unease surrounding Diddy.
Yeah, they really do. And then you've got Dwayne Keefty Davis, who was recently arrested for Tupac's murder.
Mm.
He's actually claimed that Diddy offered $1 million to have Tupac killed.
Hold on. $1 million.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
It's wild. And I mean, it's important to note that these are just allegations. Diddy hasn't been charged in connection with Tupac's death.
Right, right. But still, it's a pretty big claim to make.
It is. It is. And David claims, along with Tupac's own words, they really build on this growing mountain of evidence that suggests there was a darker side to Diddy, a side that a lot of people just chose to ignore or maybe downplay.
It's like there were two versions of Diddy, right? You know, the charismatic music mogul, the success story, the guy everyone wanted to be around, and then this other potentially more sinister figure hiding beneath the surface.
And maybe that's why it took so long for these allegations to really gain traction. You know, the public image of Diddy, that carefully crafted persona, it was just so strong. It was difficult for people to reconcile that image with these accusations of abuse and violence and exploitation.
It's the power of image, right? And I think when someone is as wealthy and powerful as Diddy, there's a natural tendency to give them the benefit of the doubt, to kind of dismiss or downplay accusations that don't fit with our perception of them.
So we see what we want to see.
I think so. We want to believe in the good guy narrative.
But as we've seen, as more and more people come forward, it becomes harder and harder to ignore the pattern. The consistency of these claims is just, it's overwhelming. It's like a dam breaking, you know, and the truth is finally starting to pour out.
That's a great analogy, and it raises a really important question. You know, like what happens next?
Yeah, what happens now? Do more people feel empowered to come forward? Will this lead to a real reckoning in the music industry, like a reassessment of those power dynamics that allowed this behavior to go on for so long?
I don't know. It's a lot to unpack, but it's not just about Diddy. Right. It's about addressing the systemic issues that allow abuse and exploitation to flourish.
In all areas, not just music.
Exactly. It's about power and privilege and the systems that protect abusers and silence victims.
Right. It's about recognizing that this isn't an isolated incident, that this is a bigger problem that we need to address as a society.
This deep dive, it's gone way beyond just one man. You know, it's about confronting some really uncomfortable truths about the way our society operates.
It is heavy stuff, but it's also incredibly important. We need to have these conversations. We need to shine a light on these dark corners and demand better.
I couldn't agree more. And that's what we're going to do in part 3 of this deep dive. We're going to examine the broader implications of these allegations, the impact on the music industry, and the cultural shifts that are happening as more and more people demand accountability from those in power.
Man, we've been through a lot with this Diddy deep dive. It's been intense.
Yeah, a lot to process.
Definitely made us think about the music industry in a whole new light. That's for sure.
And power, right? Like how much power these figures at the top really have.
Yeah. Yeah. And how we see them, you know, are we blinded by the fame and fortune? Do we just not want to see the bad stuff?
I think that's part of it. Yeah, it's like we want to believe in our heroes, you know.
But as we've seen, there's often more to the story, right? And it's not just Diddy. I mean, his potential downfall, it's almost like a ripple effect, you know, spreading throughout the whole entertainment world.
Oh, absolutely. People are paying attention. They're starting to question the systems that have been in place for so long, the systems that maybe allowed this kind of behavior to continue unchecked.
And Diddy, he was untouchable for decades, right? Like a kingmaker. His word could make or break careers.
Exactly. And now that image is shattered. You know, these allegations have tarnished his reputation, and it's making people wonder, how could someone accused of such serious misconduct, how could they maintain that level of power for so long?
It's a good question, and it feels like we're finally starting to see behind the curtain a little bit, and people aren't happy about it.
No, not at all. There's this growing sense of accountability now, a demand for transparency, a refusal to tolerate abuse, no matter how powerful the perpetrator.
And that's a good thing, right? Like this increased awareness, the willingness to hold people accountable, regardless of their status. That's got to be a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. It might be messy, it might be uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary. You know, we're having these difficult conversations, we're challenging long-held beliefs, and ultimately I think we're working towards a more just and equitable world.
So we've talked about the big picture, the impact on society and the industry as a whole, but what about Diddy? I mean, where does he go from here?
That's hard to say. He's facing serious legal charges. His reputation is in tatters. I mean, only time will tell what the legal and personal consequences will be. But one thing is certain: this story is far from over.
And it's so much bigger than just Diddy, right? It's about a cultural shift, a movement towards accountability and justice. It's about creating a world where power and influence don't shield abusers from consequences.
Exactly. It's about believing survivors, amplifying their voices, making sure they're heard.
So where do we go from here? What can we do, as individuals to contribute to this cultural shift?
Oh, I think we can start by listening to survivors,
Hmm.
believing their stories, supporting their right to speak out. We can challenge the power structures that enable abuse. We can hold those in positions of authority accountable for their actions.
We can educate ourselves about the dynamics of abuse, learn how to intervene when we see it happening. We can foster a culture of consent and respect where everyone feels safe and
I mean,
valued.
and maybe most importantly, we can't ever stop asking questions.
Yeah.
You know, challenging the status quo,
Yeah.
demanding better for ourselves and for each other.
Man, this deep dive has been a real eye opener. It's shown us the darker side of the music industry and how power dynamics can shape our world. It's a reminder that even those who seem untouchable, they can and should be held accountable for their actions.
It's been a fascinating look at how truth can come to light even after years of whispers and allegations. It's a testament to the courage of those who speak out, especially when facing someone as powerful as Diddy.
This whole story, it's still unfolding, and we don't know what the final outcome will be, but one thing is for sure, things are changing. The conversation has started, and there's no going back.
And that's a powerful thing.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking those tough questions. Keep pushing for change, and always believe in the power of your own voice.